So, hello everyone. I'm Christian from ПАРА. Today we'll meet our members from Reciprocity ROI. Here with me is John and Paul from Reciprocity, and they will share more with you about the company, their activities. So, Paul, feel free to start.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I'm the founder of Reciprocity ROI. John is our director of community engagement. We're really glad to be here today and a part of the para global network. It's an amazing opportunity. I'm just going to give you a little history on who we are and what we're about. We were founded in December of 2016. And we currently today operate in several global markets to include North America, Australia, Europe, and the UK. Our team consists of approximately 15 executives across the globe, mainly in North America, but definitely with a diverse set of global experiences in both the small and large enterprise markets and in both public and private sectors. Our ability to scale quickly and globally has never been a problem for us in terms of being able to take on any size need in virtually any market across the globe due to our vast and diverse experience and unique corporate partnerships. Additionally, with my experience, I have a deep network of relationships and background and understanding within the technology kind of universe, so to speak, due to my staffing and executive recruitment experience with Fortune 500 companies as a manager in the staffing industry. So manpower has never been a problem for us, and neither has technology, because our core focuses have remained in robotics, AI, AR, and IoT. We work pretty heavily in industries where supply is less obvious and demand is more obvious. Industries like healthcare, manufacturing, and close contact services. In 2016, we saw and noticed increasingly rapid change when we began to look at, when we began to see a holistic need that existed for adaptation and agility and agnostic and global markets and industries, both at the consumer and the business level. So we saw this holistic need and this rapid change taking place. And what we noticed is that there are more solutions, there are more problems in this world than there are solutions. And so we began to look at some of these problems and how they persist and run rampant and pervasive at macro and micro levels of varying intensities within our business communities and our personal lifestyles. And what we realized is that these problems, while there are not enough solutions currently in place to address all of them, there are frameworks around these things. So some organizations like the United Nations have actually addressed some of these problem areas by producing organized and measurable goals around problem sets like the Sustainable Development Goals and other measurable criteria such as ESGs or environmental and social and governance criteria. There are over 30 emerging technologies, as I'm sure you're all aware. We see robotics and other ancillary or adjacent technologies or supportive technologies such as artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and so forth is really kind of being the main ingredient and the precipice towards some of these anchors that are kind of holding us back from advancement and really living better lives as a global population and as micro communities. So with that being said, in the world of technology, we have all this great technology around us. In the world of technology, faster and newer doesn't necessarily always mean better if it's employed incorrectly or if it's put into the wrong hands. So the key is we move forward into the third decade, what we're doing is we find it imperative that we work to innovate and redefine these values, this value chain across the multi-tier technology value spectrum. So in closing, with my opening here, what we look to do going forward is kind of build the convergence or facilitate the convergence and the agreeable integration of technology, people, innovation programs, and ultimately educational PR, because it's our understanding that will help us employ these technologies correctly. We believe that this approach will improve people's lives and advance society forward. End result is a cleaner and safer and healthier world, a better world. And we look to do that through facilitating and the advocacy of entrepreneurship and innovation and new products that can do that. With that being said, I appreciate you allowing me to make the introduction and tell you about our company. I will let John explore a little bit deeper into some of the products and the services that we're currently working on.
Thank you, Paul. John, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Okay, great. Okay, just a second. So we kind of like to take what we think of as an ecosystem approach to this. We kind of have a series of tools. We look at intersections of technologies and different kind of use cases or needs. We look at objectives. What are we trying to do with that combination of technology? And what are the opportunity scenarios, that we could see developing? And then ecosystems that sort of around those opportunities. So for example, one of the ones we're currently exploring in depth are the intersection of healthcare and wellness on the one hand, and AI and robotics, and what we call connected applications. So there's a lot of different potential intersections there in terms of how to use AI or how to use robotics in relationship to healthcare and wellness needs. Then we sort of try to go deeper then, and we look at what are the different use cases in terms of aging in place and public health, in terms of like COVID-19, in terms of different kind of sort of opportunities within that. Here are a couple that we're sort of looking at now, for example. So one is a scenario we call safe spaces. And that's the idea that offices, schools, warehouses, factories, all are closed spaces that are in danger of spreading infection, not just COVID, but future infections or other kinds of issues that could arise. So how do we ensure that we can work together safely in those shared spaces? And how can we use connected applications, AI and robotics to help? So this is built a little bit around a connected application that we're working with called Saferly. And the idea of the Saferly is that it tracks infections room by room with spatial intelligence, and it monitors contacts and exposures in the workplace using just smartphones rather than a beacon or other kind of IoT technology. So it does exposure notifications, targeted decontamination. It's completely anonymous. It really just tracks the spaces and what's happening in the spaces. And then there's a bunch of ways in which robotics could work with that. So there are already a number of robotic applications that will do disinfection, that will do kind of be mobile testing stations, that will do kind of contactless delivery and so forth. So the idea is that your connected application helps you integrate different robotic applications. So rather than just point solutions, each of which would have their own have their own, sort of software ecosystem around them. The idea is you have an integrated, connected application. Then we can plug in various robotics and potentially even AI applications into it. So that's kind of what is said. One of our approaches is to look in an area, see where the technology potentially interacts or intersects with the need, the application area, kind of drill down and see if we can create an ecosystem around a connected application. A second one we're looking at is kind of long-term telecare. So there's a lot of telecare right now, but long-term conditions like anything from diabetes to to cancer to spinal and other bone problems really require long-term care, and very, very complicated. You have not just one doctor's virtual visit, you have multiple people on a care team. You have multiple records or imaging and so forth that are needed. So just from an administrative point of view, it's complicated. But how can we use AI and robotics to not only just to help, but to extend the functionality that we can deliver at the point of care? And again, this is in a home, or it could be in a residential facility of some kind. So the idea that connected care application we're looking at is a platform that kind of combines, live communication with, kind of stored or asynchronous communication, works across the, across the disciplines, within the medical care, physical therapists. It sort of tracks your care and wellness plans, workout routines, exercises, video and chat, telehealth, potentially biometric devices, potentially robot-assisted therapy, potentially, a wide variety of medication, automated, kind of robotic or automated medication kind of applications. So the idea of this connected application could be connect autonomous and robotic devices, have interfaces with patients in the care team, interface with health records and imaging and analysis, and then wearable and biometric devices. So that's kind of an example of sort of a specific connected application. We see this is a more general one, which we are kind of excited about. I'm particularly excited about is, and it's how can AI and robotics help make healthcare radically more affordable and radically more distributed, right? Which are two very connected things. Distributed in the sense that you get as much healthcare as possible out of the hospital, which is a high investment, kind of location, very expensive, and obviously widely varying in terms of, across, the developed and undeveloped world in terms of, what can be available. And then how do you make it radically more affordable? and kind of, again, integrate a lot of efforts to make individual applications more affordable, but integrate that within a distributed healthcare model. And again, although we haven't developed this around a connected application yet, you can see a lot of robotics and automation helping with that. Everything from kind of assistance for caregivers, physical assistance to caregivers, to robot-assisted therapy, to robotic or automated medication, and surveillance or sort of monitoring. Artificial intelligence, obviously, in terms of diagnosis or monitoring of healthcare plans, non-invasive treatments, a lot of robotics applications in that area, telehealth, and kind of smart, various kinds of smart clinics, basically. So if you think of this is not even in the home necessarily, this is in a remote or a street or a neighborhood clinic. How much can be done in a neighborhood clinic if you really leverage artificial intelligence, robotics, automation, telehealth, and so forth. So that's, again, example. I think actually we may be doing later this month, we're doing a more in-depth thing about looking at how to think about ecosystem development. But but that's kind of some of what we've been focusing ourselves in our healthcare plus, healthcare and wellness plus AI and robotics, intersection focus that we're having recently. Back to Paul. Anything you want to wrap up? Do you want to go through the, some of the other material in our presentation, or?
Yeah, if you want to start at a different slide that you think is sensible or kind of makes sense.
Yeah, let's see. So what about something like this? You were talking about your focus, the focus in general of ROI in terms of SDGs and innovation.
Yeah, so I think if we go, let's go to slide 2, John, because this will help kind of illustrate, some of the statistics, and as we the illustrations in the PowerPoint will kind of help reinforce some of the things that we're talking about and really what our company is about. So 84%, this is just a statistic that I wanted to share, is that 84% of consumers say it's important that, a company whom they buy from is innovative. I think Amazon is one of the most innovative companies in the world, and they're quite a story, a unique story to look at. For example, I hear, being in a robotics space, I hear a lot that, robots are going to take our jobs, and just kind of, canned statements like that. And I think it's quite interesting because Amazon is actually the 5th largest employer in the world, and they're the 2nd largest in the US, and they're going to be around for a long time, but yet they employ over 200,000 robots, the most out of any company, but they also employ the most people. So I think that's an interesting case study to kind of, go against the kind of generalized statement of, robots are taking our jobs. What I really think is happening here is that robots are simply reshaping our world and our workforce. So just food for thought. Why don't we go to the next slide? So we are a technology product development and innovation consulting firm, solving kind of, unmet needs and challenges through an ecosystem that is really kind of imperative to commercializing new products or building companies out of consequence. And so we kind of bring everything full spectrum from, revenue strategy, or essentially working across the capital market space, to various commercialization and distribution and IP development strategies. We can go to the next slide. And so this kind of just talks about, some of the areas that I mentioned when I was doing my opening that, we're focusing in. Obviously, number 1 is sustainable development goals. I think we got to be making a real world impact. And ultimately, I think that's how you survive as a company. I think that is how revolutionary technologies, completely redefining an industry. Technologies or companies that can do that and solve real world problems, are going to be around for a long time. I'll go back to Amazon, and I'll just close out on this slide because I know we're running in the Q&A. But I'll go back to Amazon. You look at Amazon and you think about what kind of impact is Amazon having on our world. I would say that they're definitely taking cars off the road, because instead of, hundreds of thousands of people driving to grocery stores, we no longer have to do that because we have delivery services through Amazon, which creates economies of scale, further reducing the stress on our environment and pollution that we're putting into our earth. So I think that's a good example of real world impact. And we're looking to do things and work with companies out of consequence that are what I would call revolutionary technologies, are going to kind of fill gaps along the lines of helping us embrace technology in a much safer hospitable manner, but also living in a cleaner world as well, and a safer world.
Meanwhile, guys, if you'd like to ask questions to John and Paul, feel free to do it. Guys and girls. Also, in this October, together with Reciprocity, we are building first virtual robotics incubator focused on robotics, artificial intelligence, and automation for high schoolers and students here in Bulgaria. We'll keep you posted with more details very, very soon. I see that Emil joined. Hi, Emil.
Hi, Chris. May I ask a few questions?
Of course.
First, I'm interested on what part of the development of that technology are you focused on? Is it the software or those algorithms that are used for analysis and all that stuff? And for example, if you use some sensors or something like that, how do you source them?
Yeah, for the healthcare applications, we're partnering with groups that would either have the sensors in that case, you know, and also partnering with AI companies to help develop the you know, the algorithms and so forth. So if you I think it's sort of, if you think of a kind of a top-down, bottom-up you know, kind of development, you know, the tendency for bottom-up development, which is absolutely necessary, but the tendency is to kind of focus and silo yourself into developing, you know, everything related around that particular application. And then, but we see often in the field, in actual real world application, you need some kind of management, user interface, you need some kind of layer where it all comes together and then is integrated with other existing applications, right? So for example, sensor biometric stuff ultimately needs to be integrated into a electronic health records program or a insurance monitoring program, right? So requiring each application, you know, AI application or robotics application to somehow all connect all the way through is not reasonable. So the idea being that there's a kind of a layer of management / interface that we will call the connected application, which then those plug into. So we're looking for partners always, you know, in the areas that would be either supply the robotics technology or the AI application or the you know, biometrics, you know, kind of side of things. So that's where we see it as an ecosystem, and we're kind of trying to foster the development of that ecosystem by putting those pieces together.
Okay, but what is the part you work on? You work on the management of the whole thing by using partners and connecting them and to work to each other, or you develop some part of the system? That's what I couldn't get.
Well, we foster, I think, from a kind of consulting, kind of, we go across the spectrum between consulting and investment, right? Okay. So you know, for example, we're working with Paul, you might mention, we're working with the Robotics Hub, which is an investment vehicle for robotics. So that is helping the development of various robotics applications, you know, and robotics startups. So we work on the development of it. Some of the groups we're working with are developing that management layer. You know, they are developing it. We're kind of trying to put the pieces together rather than being us developing it. We're trying to put the pieces together and help encourage again, a kind of connected kind of offering.
I'm asking because I'm giving you an example. This is a sensor we built. It's environment sensor. It was supposed to measure the environment at working places. I mean, it could be used both in offices or manufacturing facilities. And the idea was to calculate what is the productivity of a personnel when the personnel is exposed to a certain amount of noise, let's say light intensity or carbon dioxide levels. And well, actually, this project is on pause right now because of COVID situation, and people are not in the office spaces right now. But sooner or later, they will get back, and of course, we can use the carbon dioxide concentration to estimate the amount of exhales, let's say, of people indoors, and we can warn that there are a lot of people. I mean, we can create a warning based on some algorithm that there are a lot of people inside, or they should open the window or something like that. And of course, we are not aware of how it could work globally. I have idea how we can implement it here in the offices around, let's say in Sofia. But let's say we plan to, or we have interest from UK or another country, and we always need some kind of organization that would consult us first whether this product would be interesting for those people, that culture, or whether it meets some regulations. And I'll tell you why. Because the noise level measurement sensor is actually a microphone, and sometimes we can have conflict because people would think we are recording their conversations and what they talk. And the light sensor is not a camera, but we can avoid, of course, the problem. But with the microphone, we have this issue. And the other issue is many of the companies, if we make it Wi-Fi enabled, many of the companies would not allow us to connect something to their network or install any software inside. And this is, we definitely see a need of some kind of organization that is consulting us and is consulting the client how to avoid that, or let's say to educate the client about the topic. And it should be some kind of third party, because the client would not believe us, and it should be some external organization where it's trusted organization or something like that. So these are the topics we are interested right now.
Yeah, that's exactly an example of what we're talking about, what we're trying to address. Because yes, I mean you're developing this single device that has multiple functions, but a single device that needs to sort of operate within an ecosystem of technologies, plus within an ecosystem of business issues or regulatory issues and so forth. So it's not possible for you, as you know, as a kind of, if you were to base a startup on that, it would be very difficult for you to ramp up to be able to take care of all those things. So the idea being that we would work with you know, like property management consultants, right? People who manage, kind of large office spaces or whatever. We would then work, and then we would work with, connections with the regulatory agencies and so forth. And then we would integrate your sensor into an ecosystem of other, management software. And because, there's a bunch of that data would be useful in several ways, some of which related to infection, but some of this related to space utilization and, as you say, productivity. So so that's great example of something would fit into our what we call our safe spaces kind of model. And we would then try to put together the pieces, including the consulting, including the regulatory issues, including the technology integration and so forth. So we're not, I think we're not that we wouldn't develop something ourselves, but we really see that one of the major advantages, kind of out of the box, is taking stuff that already exists that can be integrated, as long as we can help develop those relationships.
So do you have something like application forms or something where we can log or fill information about all these projects? So you have you can build a database out of it, something like that.
We're working towards it. I mean, in the meantime, just email us. I think we share it, or email Paul, through Christian, because we would be interested in learning more about it and sort of building out our offering.
Emil, I will email you the contacts of John.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Emil is always ready to pitch.
That's my job.
I went ahead and put our partner, partner application page from our website. That's in the chat there. You certainly don't have to apply to be a partner. You can just simply contact us on our contact form under the contact section of our website, or you can apply to be a partner as well. But go ahead and check out our website, and feel free to reach out. And generally we respond, within a day or at least within 48 hours.
Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we have 3 more companies. We have RobcoSWAT, we have GigaAutomata, we have Industrial Tech. They develop, Industrial Tech develops applications based on blockchain. So I'm sure that Neda can share a short overview of Industria.
Of course, Chris, thank you for inviting us to present. We have actually recently joined the cluster, and we are happy to be present now at these meetings. Industria, we have been focusing primarily on blockchain technology and also of digitalization projects for the enterprise sector. So we have been working mostly for the moment with the financial fintech industry, but also with the supply chain industry, and we implement actually blockchain for business. So the technology that we implement is Corda, which is held by one of the UK companies, R3, and we partner with them on a daily basis, because we not only develop projects based on Corda, but we also develop part of the core technology together with R3, so we know it quite well. It's very interesting for us also to know more about the other companies here. Maybe we are with a bit different focus, but we complement very well in various projects with robotics, with AI technologies. For example, we have a project funded under Innovate UK grants, which is called Digital Sandwich. And this is actually a digital twin representation of the supply chain of the whole life cycle of a sandwich, from the farm through the processing and logistics of all the components of a sandwich, all the ingredients, to the end consumer, actually, when the consumer takes the sandwich. And it gives a lot of traceability, it gives a lot of waste reduction in the process, and security to the end users, actually, where are the origins of the sandwich, of what they're eating. And these kind of projects are quite interesting for us. And there, for example, we partner very good with similar companies, with AI, with IoT also. This is our interest, actually, to be here. is to learn more about the other companies also in robotics, and if possible to partner for some innovation projects. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have
Neda.
any questions?
Okay, Theodore, are you here? Would you like to present Robco with a few words?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Theodore from Robco, and we are developing and integrating robotic solutions for the automotive industry or for any other industry. So we have also own development of robotics equipment and also of automation systems. That means that we're developing own IoT devices, and then we are connecting them to a grid, so the customers can have a full monitoring how to say it, I forgot the English word now, it's coming everything in German, like full monitoring, we can just say it like the customers can have full monitoring on
their infrastructure.
Yeah, in the factories or on the technological line or a factory. So factory line or cell, it's a fractal. Actually, it's a fractal with sub objects that you can use it for a complex object like a factory, and then you can downscale it, or like a fractal system that you can assume a single robot of what is going on. I can send you in the chat two videos, presentation videos, and I think this will be helpful for everyone to understand what is going on. I can also switch my camera. I don't know.
Yeah, we can't
you
hear
can see me. Hello, and I'm here in the park. So this is why I was without the camera, so that that I'm not how to say it, that you're not stressed that I'm enjoying the view and I have a beautiful situation around me now. So, and you are all, everyone in the office and working, so this is it. But I don't know, can I find the chat, or where is the chat? I'm the first time I'm using this on the phone. Normally
go on the more button. There is 3 dots. Try to find it.
yes.
Meanwhile, George, are you here, or you just left your seat?
No, I'm just here. Sorry, I need to cut that short, but thanks for inviting me, and I will quickly introduce the Gig Automata company. So 3 years ago, we started with a prototype of an industrial robot, and so far we have built a couple of collaborative industrial robots similar to those that Universal Robots built, and we are now up to the challenge of building around 15 robots. We are already mass producing them. We have cleared all the supply chain issues and problems. We are dealing with the global chip supply shortage and had a lot of trouble the last couple of months. But I can say that now we are on the green track, and we are flying now. So yes, we are building 10, 15 robots right now, and till the end of the year, even more. We have created the robot by ourselves with all the electronics, all the software in it, all the controllers, the teach panel, everything is our technology. I can say that it's state of the art. It's the latest possible technology with the most optimal performance and everything. So yeah, this is it in short. We are robots manufacturer.
Thank you, George. John, Paul, you have questions too, Neda, George, or Tudor, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'll be glad to share with us a bit more information about your case studies, if you'd like to, because I found several curious names on the ecosystem, like Samsung, like Ashai Chemical, for example. The stage is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. I mean, love to learn more about, you know, the specifics of Robco and Giga's kind of robots. You know, particularly if we move in a direction that involves manufacturing. And yeah, Nita, very, you know, kind of interesting in figuring out how the you know, your offering would fit into our ecosystem concepts. Right now, we haven't gone there in terms of figuring out, you know, how that would support what we're trying to do. But I'm sure there's, you know, there's an aspect that where it could be important. So, so I think that means that we should, you know, have links so we can dig more into what you guys are doing. So.
Yeah, basically, yeah, we focus a lot in terms of supply chain management. It's when there needs to be traceability of information, and for example, digital passports of the products, of the production, things like this. Blockchain is very applicable because basically you can trace all the information from the beginning. It's immutable information records. And also it provides a lot of efficiency in terms of integrating large supply chain networks. Because blockchain could enable actually very fast transactions between the different suppliers, sub-suppliers. So this kind of things could be developed under with the blockchain technology, and in really an innovative and very efficient way than it is done at the moment in the traditional way, for example, with integrating big ERP systems or EDI systems and things like this. So this could be just replaced by blockchain, and could be much more elegant and very interesting solution. But of course, it requires a lot of the members in the chain to be into the system to adopt the blockchain technology. So this makes it a bit difficult initially to start, because you need probably the big manufacturer, so the who is actually building the end product, to integrate all suppliers in one network. And also, we also work on very interesting projects. They're a bit in a different direction, but like digital identity and things that are applied by the European Commission in the moment is the European blockchain infrastructure, for example, where a lot of the public services will start to be implemented and to utilize blockchain. Again, in terms of security. So security, of course, is always the other big issue, and with blockchain we solve a lot of this.
Yeah, you're right. I can see a lot of applications. It's true. I mean, particularly if we take that third scenario, kind of a more ambitious scenario we're talking about in terms of sort of global affordability or global distribution. You know, absolutely. Yeah.
And then, of course, it can be combined with data and security on data. We also have another very interesting topic, which is confidential computing, which is completely in other area, but something that is developing now, which is to secure data in use. Because usually we have security on data at rest and data in transit, but data in use, So there are a lot of issues there. So together again with our partners from the UK, we work on this, and we are very soon going to come up with solutions for security in operation, and that's very interesting niche as well in terms of again big data and confidential data, managing data from different suppliers without revealing actually the data to each other, just taking the results. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, in the healthcare area, obviously, security of data is important, and yet a lot of data needs to be shared. Even on an individual patient basis, a lot of data needs to be shared among a whole variety of different, suppliers.
Yeah, exactly. Healthcare, but also aerospace and defense. So these sectors are we've been exploring a lot this, and also we tend to go a bit to the Swedish market regarding this, because there are large suppliers, especially also of life sciences, so like AstraZeneca and this kind of companies.
Right.
And they're exploring these topics heavily at the moment to be able to process data and to share data with other competitors without actually to share the results, for example, but not the data itself. So
yeah, no, I'm somewhat familiar with that. I've worked with some aerospace companies, and even for them to share photographs or to share, kind of media is really like a huge pain, basically,
yeah.
So yeah,
that's true.
Okay, great. So in general, we want to, we're looking for people to collaborate with. Paul, you want to any wrap up? Yeah. Oh yes, please.
Yes. So I just checked the information about you in internet. So the headline is like consulting company for innovation strategies. So is this you already have some investors or investing funds that so you're looking for companies who have innovative approach of solving different types of problems in different industries, and then you have the appropriate how to say it, investor for it, or how is what's the business model?
Yeah, Paul. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll answer that. So the business model is basically, what we've done is we built a full-fledged ecosystem that is necessary to scale a startup, right? And so there are many different facets to innovation and scaling a startup. It's not just investment. It's also, having the right kind of like go-to-market strategy. It's also, market analysis in terms of, how much are you diversifying your product? How flexible is your product and your business model? And then, we might go and determine, kind of what is the best, strategy. Is it to grow, right? Is that, something that we should be pitching to investors? Are you ready for that? Or is it something that we should be essentially, investing in ourselves? Or is it something that we should be, presenting to customers, right? What stage is your product ready for? That depends. Every organization has its own DNA and its own kind of, challenges that they have to overcome in order to properly scale. So that's a lot of what we do. And one second. And then we also focus on kind of the team as well, because a lot of startups actually don't receive capital because it just simply has to do with their team. So we make sure that, the team has, everything that they need from a skill set and from a point of domain expertise in order to properly scale. If you don't have people that know how to properly distribute a product or build new IP that investors actually want to acquire or that companies want to acquire, then that is something that you're missing, and that's a gap that obviously needs to be filled.
Okay. So, and you're operating on the US market, is it correct, or it is like worldwide?
So yeah, like we said in the beginning, we operate in North America, the UK. I'm actually currently in Ireland. And then we're also doing some work in Australia with a security company and a company that's developing AI applications.
All right, so we can pitch to you, and then we can see what's going on.
Yeah, correct. You got it.
So, all right, so this is this is all right. I'm how to say it. So I'm very glad that that we talk, because a company is living from this what is selling and not from this what is producing actually.
Yeah.
You can produce a lot of things, but if you cannot sell them, then what a waste of time, I think. Huh?
Exactly.
Yes.
You got it.
Yes. So I will check more in detail what is going on. So because we're working for the German automotive industry, but also we did 2 big projects for Ford. Ford in Romania and Ford in Turkey. So we know how to say it. So we noticed that the American approach is a little bit different from the European approach. So we noticed this in the standard in the production standards. So there are specific production standards for the US and production standards for the EU for Europe. But they're similar somehow, but the manifestation is a little different. So for us, it will be interesting, and we have some new products. So that we saw that that can solve a lot of incoming problems, like digital twin technology. So what we were talking about before. And the usage of single board computers bought for x86 architecture and for ARM architecture, because this will be a big coming up for the future, what we think. But this is our business developer here. Theo, say hey.
Hello guys, sorry. I'm drinking my beer. Cheers. Was not prepared.
Yes, and
I'm still drinking coffee.
yeah, so we have a Friday afternoon, so we were working the whole night on our new business development strategies, and then Chris said, all right, so we need to be in this call, and I'm thankful for this, that you all took the time for sharing this information with us, and we do our best to make this time reasonable for you also. So I will check the information and we will send all the needed data that you can how to say it. So this word everything is common in German, and I'm missing sometimes words, so I need 15 minutes to switch in English, in the English way of thinking, to process the information. We will send you all the information so you can process it, and then we can have a conversation about it.
Okay, perfect. I would love that. We would all love that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. Thanks to John and Paul. We have another 3 minutes. If you'd like to ask a question or share some idea, feel free to do it. Later on, I will send the recording from our meeting. So feel free to ask your question now.
I just want to add something. I want to greet Georgi from Giga Automata for what they are doing. It's amazing job. Great guys.
Thank you. And speaking, sorry, just a quick question, but speaking of, do you hear me well? I'm in
Yes,
the car.
yes.
Speaking of investment, at what stages do you find investors? As for example, we are really looking for Series A investment, and we have generated a lot of income the last couple of years, and we are really not interested in small investments. Do you have any partners that can do Series A, for example?
Yeah, so most of the investors that we're going to be working with are going to be in the early stage or the first round of series. Because we work with institutional investors, they would be interested in opportunities to acquire early stage IP companies. And that gives them a significant first mover advantage or competitive advantage against the rest of the market. The other thing is that also allows them a significant amount of flexibility. And that also allows them to kind of, an early stage company has a better opportunity in many ways to grow because they're highly moldable. The other area that we work with a lot in terms of investment opportunity is Series A. Series A and Series B companies, largely because they generally have an established product, and because they have an established product, it's much different investing at Series A versus like a Series C or later stage, or a Series D round or something like that. It's a much different type of investment. And so when we work with venture capital firms or investment funds or anything of that type of sort, generally speaking, those firms are gonna have their own resources. For example, the Robotics Hub has Reciprocity as a resource, and we would work in tandem with them on anything kind of robotics and AI related. And generally, they're gonna have their own resources. But when you start kind of investing or looking at investment opportunities at a later stage series round, like a Series C or something like that, usually it's the company themselves that have their own resources, and then they're going out into the market themselves and looking at, okay, how do we adequately fill our internal gaps so that we can properly get a private equity round or something of that sort, or go public or whatever it is. So it's a different strategy for each stage, and where we're at is definitely more in that kind of early stage Series A capacity.
Okay, thanks. Understood. Yeah. And are you interested in investing in a sub product of Giga Automata, of the same company, but just a product related to robotics and AI, which is not the robot itself, but it can be separated in a kind of subdivision, a kind of a startup thing? Are you okay? It seems that you are more interested in this kind of relation, this kind of company, early stage. So can we say that if we split the company and separate one brand new product on a kind of an early stage company, you could be more interested in investing there?
I'm not. I don't think I'm understanding your question. Can you rephrase or?
Yeah. Well, since Series A, Series B is tricky to invest, do you find it more suitable to split some of the one of the products of I wouldn't say what this time, but do you think that splitting one of the products out of the company, taking it out of the company and creating a separate company, kind of a startup, it will be more easier for financing just for this product? Or your advice is to keep it contained in the bigger company, in Giga Automata, and just going for Series A or Series B at some point? Your opinion, just your, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer because every scenario is different, right? I think you're going to have more as I said, I think there's more flexibility in terms of, an investor that, you're dealing with different types of investors. So if you're dealing with institutional investors, I think that's more privy to like the angel or the early stage angel investor, or possibly even Series A. But when you start getting dilution and you start getting kind of multiple equity stakes, and it gets very complicated. And so I think if you were going to separate a product out, it's good to maybe do that early on while you can and while you have more flexibility. But if you do it in a later stage, there really has to be a business case for it. I mean, what's going to happen? Is it a managed buyout? Is it a, are you splitting off a company to go public or something like that? I mean, that's a much more strategic approach. And again, in terms of, us, so we're both a product development company. So we have products that we've developed or that we own partial stake in, but we're also a consulting company. And so again, from a consulting side of things, it's going to be much more kind of exclusive at the early stage. At the later stage, it's the companies who are more developed and further along in their growth, they're going to be much more, I guess you could say, in control of how they want to grow, and not necessarily answering to one investor per se, but they would generally use their own internal resources. And so that's, I think that separation or that transition starts to happen when you get kind of out of the Series B stage, generally speaking.
Yeah, understood. Thanks for the opinion.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thanks again for your time. John, Paul, it's great that you shared such a valuable information with our members. And you had a chance to discuss their ideas. Very soon, we'll have an additional webinar together with Paul and John in the field of robotics in healthcare. So stay tuned. You'll receive a recording from this meeting. With that, I would like to wish you an amazing and happy Friday.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.